As Cyril Ramaphosa foolishly lashes out at Donald Trump in the United States on Monday, July 7th, 2025, after Trump responded to a Sunday BRICS threat to America, just a short time later, Ramaphosa received his Dear John letter about tariffs, as Trump issued his first 14 tariff letters on the 7th of July. Speaking at the BRICS summit in Brazil, an event Ramaphosa chose to attend while sending just a deputy trade minister to the US Africa Business Summit last week in Luanda, that was an insult to the United States, Cyril acted as if he's on equal footing with the President of the United States. The BRICS bloc of developing nations on Sunday condemned the increase of tariffs and attacks on Iran, but refrained from naming President Trump by name. The group's declaration also spared its member Russia from criticism and mentioned war-torn Ukraine just once. Now, with the adults absent from China and Russia, the children played at the BRICS summit. In response to the BRICS statement attacking the United States on Sunday, President Trump posted the following on his Truth Social account. Any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exceptions to this policy. In response, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa stepped into an escalating spat with Trump over Trump's threats targeting the BRICS group. It's really disappointing that when there is such a very positive collective manifestation, such as BRICS, there should be others who see it in a negative light and want to punish those who participate. That's what he told reporters at the Rio summit as he left the two-day event. It cannot be and should not be. Well, BRICS is not a positive manifestation. It's a hate America, hate Europe club. That's what BRICS is. The summit's host, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, earlier wisely declined to comment on Trump's statement. Apparently, Ramaphosa, huddled with his advisors ahead of an afternoon news conference, was implored not to take the bait and jack up tensions further. But the man who serially insults America and President Trump just could not help himself. On a day in which President Trump delivered 14 tariff letters to trading partners, for once, South Africa-led ANC rose to prominence, getting their 30% tariff letter on the first day rather than later on. It seems reasonable that Cyril's inability to remain silent may have moved Pretoria's letter from further in the queue up to the front. What does remain unclear is if Trump's Truth Social post over the weekend in response to the threat from BRICS attendees will result in an additional 10% tariff for South Africa when the tariffs take effect on August 1st. Which brings us to the letter, and I'll read the letter to you that President Trump sent to Ramaphosa. July 7th, 2025. His Excellency Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Pretoria. Dear Mr. President, it's a great honor for me to send you this letter in that it demonstrates the strength and commitment of our trading relationship and the fact that the United States of America has agreed to continue working with South Africa despite having significant trade deficit with your great country. Nevertheless, we have decided to move forward with you, but only with more balanced and fair trade. Therefore, we invite you to participate in the extraordinary economy of the United States, the number one market in the world, by far. We have had years to discuss our trading relationship with South Africa and have concluded that we must move away from these long-term and very persistent trade deficits engendered by South Africa's tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers. Our relationship has been, unfortunately, far from reciprocal. Starting on August 1st, 2025, we will charge South Africa a tariff of only 30% on any and all South African products sent into the United States, separate from all sectoral tariffs. Goods transshipped to evade a higher tariff will be subject to that higher tariff. Please understand that the 30% number is far less than what is needed to eliminate the trade deficit disparity we have with your country. As you're aware, there will be no tariff if South Africa or companies within your country decide to build or manufacture products within the United States. And, in fact, we will do everything possible to get approval quickly, professionally, and routinely. In other words, in a matter of weeks. If for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by will be added to the 30% that we charge. Please understand that these tariffs are necessary to correct many years of South Africa's tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers, causing these unsustainable trade deficits against the United States. This deficit is a major threat to our economy and indeed our national security. We look forward to working with you as your trading partner for many years to come. If you wish to open your heretofore closed trading markets in the United States and eliminate your tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers, we will, perhaps, consider an adjustment to this letter. These tariffs may be modified upward or downward depending on our relationship with your country. You will never be disappointed with the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. With best wishes, I am sincerely Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Ouch. Ouch. Well, the letter has come. And I thought perhaps South Africa would get their letter on Wednesday or maybe later. But what is clear is the tariffs are 30%. It's unclear whether the additional 10% for BRICS-aligned nations, South Africa is a BRICS nation, will also apply. But I think this letter came out sooner than it was intended to because of Ramaphosa acting like a child and insulting Trump and America today at the end of the summit. That's foolish. Well, South Africa knows what the standards are. They know what their barriers are to our trade, and they have the ability to change them. If not, many jobs will be lost in South Africa and much suffering will occur. I heard Davy Root earlier today talking about South Africa's economy. He thinks that this will only impact 0.2 or 0.3% of GDP growth. But given that South Africa's economy is growing at less than 1%, inflation is running at over 2%, and population growth is exceeding the GDP growth, 0.2% will be devastating. I suspect it'll be far greater than 0.2%. Whatever the case is, this is not a good outcome for South Africa. We saw this coming as early as January when Ramaphosa pretended to sign expropriation without compensation, thereby abrogating South Africa's participation in the AGOA program. The AGOA Act requires countries to respect private property rights. By signing expropriation without compensation and stealing land from people or property based on capricious government decisions, South Africa abrogated its agreement to abide by private property rights in AGOA. And so South Africa, January, had zero duty to access our marketplace for your BMW parts, your automobiles, your wine, your agricultural products. It was fantastic. 0%. So South Africa started the year with 0% tariffs. Then when the reciprocal tariffs came into effect in early April, South Africa was hit with a 30% tariff, which was paused for 90 days to give South Africa a chance to negotiate. South Africa sent no ambassador, no special envoy. Nkabisi Jonas still sits in South Africa, not in Washington. Sent no trade representative, sent no trade delegation, made no legitimate effort, and then insult the United States at every turn, with Ramaphosa running around going, oh, they're dimming the lights. I thought they were pulling a Trump on me. Then Lamola lying about the Sherpa conference, saying the United States sending a diplomatic letter, which is a matter of protocol and diplomatic courtesy. He said that was an apology for not attending the conference at Sun City, insulting America. Then we have the U.S.-Africa Business Summit, which takes place in Luanda this year. They went to Luanda. 14 African heads of state were there, not Ramaphosa, not Paul Mashatile, his deputy, not the foreign minister, Ron Lamola, not the trade minister, Parks Tau. What were they doing? Thumb-sucking? They sent a deputy minister. And then they told South Africans that they requested an extension and that this is open negotiation. Well, today you received your letter. I don't know what's open negotiation. These tariffs will take effect on 1 August, and I wouldn't be shocked or surprised to see an additional 10% thrown on top for being a BRICS member, especially after Ramaphosa insulted President Trump and America today. How not to win friends and influence people. The African National Congress. South Africans will pay the price for their arrogance. Cheers, folks.